Hey there, crew. It's Mark from MENWHOBULLET. Thanks for coming to hang out today, where we're going to be having some fun by learning how to doodle and draw inside of our bullet journal. If you're the type of person who's always wanted to try to do this, but never really felt quite confident, me, this is going to be a great video for you. We're going to be using a brand new book that I just got from Amy Latta. It's called Doodle Everything. It has over 400 different doodles and ideas for us to use inside of our journals. Today, we're going to be creating a weekly overview spread using some really cool overlapping banners. And then we're also going to be creating an Instagram tracker, and we're going to learn how to doodle a camera. We've got some banners going on. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. So let's get started. Amy's book has so many cool things to take a look at. As it mentions, over 400 different sketches and ideas that you can use inside of your bullet journal planner, or even just to create your own art. It really does help you kind of think about ideas, take things step by step. And that's what I really love about it. The table of contents shows all the different categories that we have here. And what I love about this is that while you might think, well, I'm not saying exactly something that I'm looking for, the way they're categorized or put through here, you're like, oh, that's great. So I've actually tagged a handful of them that I want to use later on as we go into it. Which applies today, if you're going to be doodling along with me or thinking about these ideas, I'm going to have a few things ready to go. I have just an extra journal that I have that we're going to be creating these things inside of. I'll also be creating some sketches and just getting some ideas out as we're going through, just to show you how easy it is to create and follow along with what Amy has inside of her book here. We're also going to need a pencil, and I'm going to recommend some type of a black pen. And then if you want to add a little bit of color, you can go with whatever you want. I'm going to be using the Zebra mild liners today. I love creating with these. They're super easy, and they have a really nice bullet edge as well as a nice chiseled edge. So you have a lot of diversity on what you can do with these. Whenever I'm creating, I like to just have like an open book, something that I can easily be like, hey, let me try that out real quick and see if that's going to work out. So that's what this is going to be over here for us as we start to go through this book. One of my favorite things to draw actually are different types of botanicals and flowers and things like that. At first, you're like, oh gosh, that's a lot. Or I don't know how I would potentially use something like that. What I love about Amy's book is it really does break things down into easy steps. And in most cases, I feel like it's about 4 steps or so, depending on how detailed each one of these things are. But even as something as this little leaf here, which would be a wonderful thing to have, especially as we go into like fall or winter, as the leaves are changing or falling, you're like, okay, how would I draw that real quick? So let me just do like a real quick sketch, see how easily I can follow along, how close mine looks to this. But that's just something really easy that you can do. Even something simple like this, I actually really like this shape. So it's just kind of like a teardrop shape. And then you're just drawing your line through. You're creating a little stem. And then she's coloring it in, which is really neat. And then just leaving like a bit of a highlight here. So that's super easy to do, make something look pretty neat. I marked this page because this is something that I really like to actually draw with these different type of like branches or these leaves that go off. And I was like, let's try this out and see, because it has a lot of different pieces to it. First, you're creating the stem and really kind of getting that shape. And then you're going in afterwards with your leaves, which in my brain, I would work a little bit differently, I feel like. So this is super helpful for me to be like, oh, okay, let's take this step by step. Let's think about the branches and how they reach up and the different lengths that make these things look very interesting. Some are short, some are long. There's 2, there's 1, a lot of different ways for us to look at it. And then once we have those first branches, she actually goes ahead and branches off of those again. And that creates kind of the fullness of each one of these different branches. And then we'll add those little leaves afterwards and it'll look really cool. And then the shapes over top of these, they're just taking a little bit below where the branch or the stem is. And it's just creating these like this leaf shape. That turned out pretty cool. It's a lot easier. It looks so complex when you look at it like this, but then you start to break it down. You're like, yeah, I can totally do that. All right, let's take a quick look through. I did mark a few other pages. I thought we could try out a few other things. Of course, they get more dynamic. You can color them in and do some cool stuff. And what I also like is that if you wanted to use this book as a practice space, Amy actually leaves space throughout this entire notebook for you to try things out. All right, so a whole bunch of cool stuff to look at, see animals and fun things. I marked this page. This just kind of shows how you can even build something like an animal, right? A fox or an owl or something like that, where you feel like, yeah, on its own, I don't feel very confident in drawing that, but by itself or the step by step, I would feel pretty good. So I just wanted to show you that one. There's a lot of really cute little things inside of here. Definitely, like, I think about trees, and even if you wanted to do something like this during the winter, right? Taking a tree and then adding some white on top of it for snow. There's a lot of really cool ideas here. Mountains, we love mountains in the Bujo community, don't we? So really nice stuff and really cute animals. Even things like string lights, right? Holiday type things. Anytime you're like, how would I draw a candle or a reindeer for Christmas or around the holiday season? It's all here and easy to break down and follow through. Some of the other things that I loved inside of here were actually the celebration and party decor. Think about a lot of the banners and things that we draw across our pages, even with something like a tag or something coming over top of a space for like dates, banners, streamers, different things like that. We're actually going to use this one here for our weekly spread idea in just a little bit. I also really like this one too. We're going to create an Instagram tracker. And so something like drawing a camera for Instagram makes sense. So this will actually break down, and we'll use this right here actually to create that later on today. So like I said, there's a lot of really cool things inside of here. Coffee shop. Ooh, we love our coffee, don't we? All types of things, coffee mugs, coffee pots, cafes, tea kettles, all of those ideas, all those things that we want to do, cookies even, it's all in here. Ooh, paper airplane. I like drawing those. I love it. And an index. So if you're ever like, hey, I want to know how to draw this, you can come right back here and find it really quickly. All right, let's go ahead and create our weekly spreads real quick. So we're going to just do two different options. I just want to show you how you can take ideas out of something like this Doodle Everything book and bring that into your bullet journal and actually set up a weekly for yourself. So we're going to do this in two ways. The first way is I'm going to create a weekly spread over on this side of the page, and I'm going to be using this piece here from the banner part. So a little hangover banner. This is really cool if you want to create a little bit of dimension on your page. So what I've done on my spread first, I'm just going to use the one side of this. You would obviously use both sides of it. I've split my page up into thirds. And the first thing that I want to do is actually I want to create like a elongated rectangle here, because I want to be able to put like the day of the week, and then we're going to draw this hanging over banner over top of it, and we'll put the date inside of here. So I'm going to go ahead and let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do 5. And then I want to leave room for the day of the week. I also want to mention, you probably have seen me use pencil the entire time. I do have markers that I'm going to be using to kind of fill these in afterwards, but I always like to use pencil first. And that way, if I mess up, I can easily erase it. And especially when you're trying doodles for the first time or anything like that, it's really important to have that flexibility. So I've drawn out my rectangle here. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to follow through with the shapes that are on here. So the first thing I need to do is create kind of this hanging over banner part. Right, then she is drawing a line across the top, and then we're swooping down. Let's actually make that longer. We'll make it like a long banner. Just use the shape that we already have here. Okay, and then she's creating just a real quick little cut here. So we'll go up and we'll go down. And then she started to add in some of these smaller detail pieces. So under here, there's like a little line, and then coming down, we're gonna follow this down. And she has like some little dots here. All right, now that we have our shape, anything that we don't want, we can erase away a little bit before we go in with our marker. We'll do the same exact thing. This way we're only tracing over the lines that we have or the lines that we want. Hey, look at us. All right, let's go ahead and do this 2 more times, and we'll have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on here. And then we'll go ahead and add a little bit of color, some drop shadow, and then we'll finish off and then go into our Instagram tracker. All right, now that we have those in here, what I can do is just take any type of marker. You could use a brush pen or a brush marker if you wanted to, and then we're just gonna go ahead and color in each of the days of the week before we add in our dates or anything else. Now that we have our color in, we can go in and we can just create each of the days of the week. So let's go ahead and put in Monday. We'll say this is going to be Monday the 1st. If you're using this idea for yourself for a weekly spread, you would just continue that across for Thursday, Friday, and even a weekend space if you wanted to. One thing I love to add to any of my pieces is just a little extra bit is a small drop shadow. So you can use a much lighter color, gray, if you have like a very light gray. In this case, I'm just going to be using this blue-green color just for it. And what you're doing is you're just coming underneath these little spots and you're just adding just an ever so slight little drop shadow. You can add them anywhere you feel like you'd be catching a little bit of the light. All right, let's go ahead and move on to what we're going to be creating next, which is going to be actually using a few different elements. One of them is going to be from this other page here, where we're going to go ahead and use one of these banners here for our Instagram tracker. We're also going to be using the camera that we saw back over here for this as well. So what I'll do before anything else is try to figure out my spacing, make sure I have enough spacing. I've gone in and added 6 squares here, so we're just going to add each one of these for different amounts. Maybe every 100 followers we get on Instagram, we'll be coloring these in or putting in some dates. But first we need to go ahead and have our header section, which is where we're actually going to be using this really cool classic banner. I love drawing these. These always look very cool. And what I love is that you can size them appropriately. So for ours, we're going to make a very big banner because it's going to be for Instagram trackers, what we're going to write on top of this. I'm just going to do a real quick sketch. Make sure that I have everything right here. So we're going to draw a long rectangle. Our second step is going to be coming down just a little bit, and we're going to be coming out. And then I like to just come down and over, and then we're going to create this little flag over here. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. I love using dots and the dot grid notebooks because you can kind of just follow along with the dots that you see on the page here to get the spacing that you want or that you need. Okay, and then step 3 down here is where you're going to connect the bottom left-hand side to the bottom right-hand side of here. We'll do the same thing over here as well. Super nice and easy, right? All right, let's go ahead and flip over to the camera because this is going to be the next part that we want to add right over top of here, just as a fun little visual before we create the rest of our Instagram tracker here. This is a great example of somewhere where I don't usually feel comfortable drawing anything like this, but I'll just follow along with what Amy has here, and hopefully we'll have ourselves a camera when we're done. So I'm going to create a rounded edged rectangle, and I'm going to try to center it underneath of here. So it's going to be kind of a elongated version of what she has in the book here. Okay, and then I need to add the shutter button. And then I need to add where the flash is going to be. And then step 3 here is just adding another similar shape right inside of that flash. Okay, and then step 5 has us creating just a horizontal banner that's going through here. We can just actually use the dot grids that are here to create that. Okay, 6 is going to be coloring that in. I think really the only little detail we see inside of here is like a little reflection. And then she actually has a strap going around here, which I think looks kind of cool. Let's see if we can mimic that a little bit. It's not actually part of her directions here, but I think we can do it if we just use some of these shapes that are here. So similar to that banner, let's take that up around. And we can create this here. Okay. And then we'll create another little rectangle over here. Let's see, we're going around and under. And this one's going to come across to create that loop. And then we're going to draw another line right under here. Ayo, we did it. Little circles and stuff, we'll add in those details in a little bit. But we've got that there. And now that we have all of our pieces in here in a really good spot, we can come back in with our marker and go over all of our lines. I've gone ahead and cleaned ourselves up a little bit here. So we have our banner, we have our camera, and then I also created some real quick Polaroids. You may have seen me flip over my ruler while I was working. So as I was going with it laying flat like this, as I was pulling away, some of the marker ink was getting caught underneath here and creating some streaks. If at any point you notice that with your markers, or I actually see this happen a lot of the times with the mild liners as well, if your ruler has a little bit of a beveled edge, if you flip it over, that beveled edge will now be facing up, and as you're drawing, the ink won't get caught underneath your ruler, because that's what's happening, because it's laying flat in plastic. It's kind of just pulling the wet ink with it. But if you flip it over, when you draw your line and pull it away, because it has a beveled edge, it's not going to do that. All right, now that we have everything in here, we got to give it a little splash of color. I'm going to grab a handful of colors that I like. So I'm going to be grabbing yellow. I have a gray here, which I'm going to do some more of the drop shadows on these as we go through. I also have a really cool smoke blue. I love this color. And then I also have a blue-green that we're going to be using as well. So let's go ahead and color ourselves in, and then we'll go ahead and add in the numbers or subscribers or followers that we're going to be using for each of these and talk about how we'd use this. All right, now that we have that all filled out, you'll see that we're just going to track by 100. So what I like to do, anytime that I hit a new milestone on Instagram, I like to do two things. The first thing that I like to do is I like to write down the date that I hit that. So let's go ahead and say that we hit this on February the 1st. And then what I do is I go back and I grab a color, any color that I like, and then I like to fill in the outline of my Polaroid. And then I have myself my very first Instagram tracker here. So two really great, fun, and easy ways that you can use doodles and ideas inside of your bullet journal. I hope you learned a whole lot today and had a whole lot of fun. I know that I most certainly did. I definitely want to thank Amy for sending this book out to me for us to be able to check out, to use these doodles, and I'll definitely be using this ongoing inside of my own journal. You know, anytime you're not feeling confident, it's totally okay to pull out a resource, find some that you really like, and then add it to your own journal or planner. If you'd like to check out some other bullet journal idea videos, I've got them coming up next for you. I've got a whole playlist for you. It's a whole lot of fun. I'll talk to you soon. Happy planning.